Welcome into the Warchant.com report. I'm Jeff Cameron. There you see on the screen right there, Ira and Gene of Warchant.com. And we're talking Florida State Wake Forest. Before we do, that game is noon on the ACC network. That's right, a little nooner on the ACC network, and the final game of the season. Of course, the Noles coming off a victory. That's right. We get to do one of these, boys, in which we talk about a victory. And what a great weekend it was for Florida State fans everywhere. There's a win on the hardwood, although obviously it was tough to revel in that given the circumstances and the tragedy there. But a win did occur. And then, of course, Florida State football gets a win. Then you get the McKenzie Milton news, which we'll talk about here on the show today. And just a lot of good news on the whole for Florida State. Let's go to that Duke game, first of all. 56-35. Florida State remains undefeated all time against Duke. Not even in this godforsaken year could Duke rise up and find a way to get a win. Nay, didn't happen. The dead fish doesn't get a win against Florida State. Some streaks will stay alive forever, we hope. How much, Gene, do you take away from a 21-point victory over Duke? Obviously, it was exciting to see the 56 points, disappointing to see the 35. Talk to me.
Hey, wins are hard to come by this year, so you take it. You take something definitely from that. Beats the alternative. I know this is a down-and-out Duke team, but so Florida State's down-and-out. They've lost a lot of their key players too. So, I mean, I think it's good. And I think what we learned is this team can move the football when Jordan Travis is healthy. They're pretty good offensively. He's averaging something like 34 points a game when he's in there. So that's good to see. And that's without a viable wide receiver core. Jordan Young wasn't out there. We saw Pokey Wilson get hurt early. Warren Thompson wasn't out there. So he really had nothing at wide receiver, but yet he was still able to move that offense almost at will, except for that little gap in the second quarter. So I like that. And I like the fact that the team bounced back a little bit. We saw that in the second quarter where we've all season long, that suddenly they can't stop anybody. And the offense just goes into a complete lull. But you know what? They came back after halftime and they were pretty good again, which early in the season, they weren't doing that. Once they were done for the game. So there are a couple positives. Defense, though, still the Florida State defense.
Yeah, the defense is bad, and a lot of fans obviously will rightfully go into next season with a lot of doubts if things stay the same. And I'm going to guess that they do to some extent, at least as it pertains to coordinator. Ira, I think one of the other positives here as I cut to you, a lot of guys, a lot of young players out there getting a lot of run in this game and making an impact in this football game. I'll ask you about who stood out. Obviously, we know Toafili, but so many more got a lot of run. And I think also that fight that Gene alluded to, you couple that with the young players that we're about to talk about, and you feel like you've got the crooks of what you want moving forward, people that are bought in and still fighting hard even through the adversity of this season.
Yeah, you wish it would have worked out with the Tamarian Terrys and the Corey Durdens and LaDamian Webb and some of these guys that have left the program. They're very talented football players. But I do think the nucleus you've got that has stayed at least is committed to the program and committed to each other. And I think they played well. And to Gene's point, they didn't go in the tank when things went poorly. They kind of rallied around each other. But as far as the young players, Ja'Kai Douglas scores the touchdown. He didn't have to do a whole lot on that pass, but he showed some speed. Lawrence Toafili, again, we expected that he would make a lot of plays if he was given opportunities. He was able to do that. Ran for over 100 yards. Also looked like he could do some things as a receiver. Ja'Kai Douglas also played receiver. In fact, I think the three leading receivers in that game were all running backs. Those two and Jay Sean Corbin, to Gene's point about not having any available receivers. But, this offense, it all goes back to, obviously, it goes back to Jordan Travis. When he has played this season, when he's completed games, they've been really good offensively against average competition. I don't know that they could do it against great competition. They did show up for a half against Notre Dame. But he kind of makes everything go. But even on defense, you saw some young players really shine. Travis Jay with the acrobatic one-handed interception was a big-time play. We've been looking for that. We've heard so many great things about him in practice. That was his chance to show it on the field. Brendan Gant, another second-year player that had some really nice plays, could have had 2 interceptions in that game. He had one. He had one called back due to penalty. Even like on special teams, Jayon McCluster, a freshman linebacker, had a really nice hit. So they only have 45 or 50 scholarship guys playing right now, and that's giving opportunities to some of these younger guys, and they stepped up in that game.
Ira, I'm going to stay with you because the other piece of really big news for Florida State is that they get the two-time AAC Player of the Year, McKenzie Milton, to transfer in. And this was a pipe dream in my mind when his name was being mentioned. It was something that I certainly hoped Florida State could get accomplished, but I thought, man, he's going to have other options on teams that are ready made to win. Is he really going to want to come here? This is a work in progress. We'll see. What a get from Mike Norvell, guys. This is as big a get as he's got since he's arrived here. It gives you hope, maybe a little bit momentum in recruiting. This is a big week. Obviously, we'll see if it rubs off on anybody else. But if he's fully healthy, Ira, what does that mean for this offense and for this team moving forward?
Well, at least it means you have options. You know, to what we were just discussing with this offense this season, once it became clear that Jordan Travis was the best option they had at quarterback, he really was the only option. I mean, they tried Chubba Purdy, and he had limited success. He started to show a little bit of potential, but then he got hurt. And then you're down to basically Jordan Travis and Tate Rodemaker. We expect that Chubba Purdy will be back in the spring, but we don't know exactly how long all that process is going to take and how it affects his offseason. But just giving you another guy that now you have options, you have a real competition, and you have a guy that if he's healthy, and we'll have to see, Mike Norvell did say this week that before they made the decision to offer McKenzie Milton and offer him a chance to transfer in, they did review his medical records. The doctors here feel confident that he's a guy that can come in and play. But if he can be anywhere close to what he was physically before, I mean, it's a huge get for Florida State because he's a guy that has done it, and he's done it against good competition, and he's really a special quarterback.
Well, Gene, I'm going to cut to you, but I really think we should all kind of talk about, do we think there's going to be any other impact on that quarterback room? You guys always have your ear to the ground, and most of the viewers of this on Warchant.com are going to want to know, are all the quarterbacks coming back with the news that McKenzie Milton is coming in?
Well, it's funny, earlier this week, that was what I asked head coach Mike Norvell. Like, what was the feeling in the room when you told the quarterbacks you're bringing in a guy that's probably going to start, assuming he's healthy, and you guys are going to have to take a seat? That's a great question. You never know. We hear Bailey Hockman come out and go, oh, everything's great in an interview, and then 3 days later he bolts. So we don't know for sure. You would think Jordan Travis came in maybe not thinking anyway, and they're going to be packages for him. He's still going to play a lot. Chubba's a guy worried about a little bit, but look, he's going to be a freshman again next year with eligibility. One more year to learn under a guy who's really accomplished. Right. It makes sense for him to stay one more year, learn. And then the sophomore year, he's got 3 more years of eligibility. He can roll in as the starter. So logically, it shouldn't have any impact on these guys. It should be a good thing for them. They seem the right kind of guys to handle it. But in this day and age of, free love, whatever you want to call it, where people transfer willy-nilly the first time they have a bad day, who knows? It wouldn't shock me if somebody left, but logically they should all stay here. And maybe Tate Rodemaker, that might be the one that goes, look, I'm the fourth guy, I'm the fourth wheel here, I need to get out. Given
how devastating Milton's injury was, Gene, do you think he's still going to be the same effective quarterback he was at UCF?
Yeah, I don't think people realize how horrific this injury. I mean, a torn artery, that's really bad, nerve damage, ligament damage. It was nasty, and it's taken 2 years to get the rehab to where it is where he can, play. He has been running some scout team at UCF, so he's back a little bit. But it's going to be tough. We saw that, even physically, the doctors, let's say, give him the release. He's ready to go this spring. We've even seen that with DeAndre Francois. He was not willing to run when he came back from his injury, and it's a big part of Milton's game. Now, look, he's not Jordan Travis. He's not a run first quarterback, but he ran for over 900 yards at UCF. He ran for close to 20 touchdowns. Mike Norvell's going to want to run the zone read and do a lot of those things he does with a mobile quarterback. So almost the bigger concern is psychological. We've seen in this day and age with Alex Smith. I would have bet the house there's no way he would come back and be a starting quarterback. What do you have, 17 surgeries on that leg or something ridiculous? And he started games for Washington this year. So it's certainly possible that he should be ready to go physically, but psychologically, that's a whole nother ball game.
Started games, beat Pittsburgh on the road. So knock on wood, you have the same sort of miraculous comeback for McKenzie Milton. We got a preview Wake Forest, and we'll do it in a moment. But before we go, I want to mention here real quick that you can watch the pregame show on Warchant TV on YouTube. Myself, Tom Lang, will bring that to you Saturday at 10 a.m. We'll counter programming to College Game Day. Tune on in to us on 97.9 ESPN Radio or right here on Warchant TV on YouTube. And then after the game, Gene and Tom will join forces again, and they'll take your calls or questions online as well. Warchant TV on YouTube. More of the Warchant.com report, I should say, in a moment. Welcome back to the Warchant.com report. Time to take a look at Wake Forest. Another reminder, 10 a.m. on Saturday morning, right here on Warchant TV on YouTube. Myself, Tom Lang, with the pregame show and the postgame show right after the game ends with Gene Williams and Tom Lang as well, taking your calls. Just a reminder there, noon is kickoff on the ACC network. Hartman, by the way, who tore Florida State up at quarterback in his lone start against the Noles, was not good last week, guys. 17 of 41, 224 yards against a bad Louisville team who just pounded Wake Forest. Now, it's not shocking that Louisville scored a lot of points against Wake's defense. They've been terrible. We'll document that in a moment. It's time to look at Wake's offense, and I know they play at a breakneck speed. They do score a lot of points. The offense does not complement the defense. Their fans are upset about this. They average 435 yards a game, 37 points a game. Gene, talk to us about Sam Hartman. Talk to us about what this offense presents as a problem for Florida State's defense.
Yeah, rough week against Louisville for Hartman, but on the whole, he's been pretty solid this year, especially in not making mistakes. 1 interception in 8 games. That's pretty impressive, a 10-to-1 touchdown interception ratio. So he's not gonna beat himself in this game. What really scares me and should scare Adam Fuller about this offense is a guy named Jaquari Roberson, and that is their wide receiver. And here's a couple stats for you. Not only is he second in the ACC in yards per game at 99.4, he is number 2 in the nation according to Pro Football Focus among all wide receivers with a 92.7 grade. And here's the kicker. He's their slot receiver. Excuse me. And if you haven't noticed, Florida State seems to have a little bit of an issue, guys going in the middle of the field, basically leaving them uncovered by miles all day long. So if I'm Wake Forest, man, I'm just going to target him to death in the middle of the field. And Florida State hasn't covered it all season long, so we'll see if they have an answer for Mr. Roberson. That's going to be tough. Now, Wake Forest did lose their starting running back. Kenneth Walker opted out. He didn't play last week. They have Christian Beal-Smith as the other guy, and they did kind of split reps, so he'll be the main guy averaging a little over 5 yards a carry. So he's a pretty solid running back, and as a team that's going to do a lot of both, a lot of run, a lot of pass on you. But again, I think it comes down to really if they're able to move. I mean, I can see Roberson having one of those 180-yard games if Florida State doesn't change what it does defensively to actually cover the slot receiver.
And to your point, Gene, I think that the frustration for Wake fans is that they feel like too often they give up on the run, but that's because their defense gives up so many points and they have to keep throwing. They may not have to run the ball against Florida State. They could just throw it over and over and over again as I segue over to Ira. Let's talk about Wake's defense. You get the more enviable task of presenting to Florida State fans something that maybe worth noting than cheering about. They do have one good player in Jasir Taylor on that defense at corner. I would just point him out real quick before I turn it over to you, Ira. But they've had a lot of problems staying healthy and a lot of guys opting out in that secondary. They just don't get stops. Their defense has been awful.
Yeah, they've been a wreck. They had a couple of moments earlier this season where they played decent. But really for the last 2 games they played, they've given up over 100 points combined. They've gotten involved in some shootouts where, again, the offense has had opportunities to put up some big numbers. But then the defense, they go with that up-tempo pace, and then the defense, it just puts them in worse and worse situations. With Jordan Travis in Florida State's offense, they're dynamic, and they're certainly dynamic against a bad defense, which is what Wake Forest has. So I expect Florida State to have a really good day offensively. Wake Forest has been a challenging opponent for FSU. The last trip to Snuggy Hill was not very good, but I think Florida State's going to have a chance to move the ball. The bigger question is, as Gene pointed out, is can FSU's defense get enough stops?
Yeah, I said shootout last week for Florida State Duke. I think we're all pointing to a shootout again this week for Florida State Wake Forest. Keys to victory. While we're here, we can throw that around if you'd like. Your thoughts? I score more points is the silly dopish answer, but I think in this case, I mean, like, is the race to 60? What are we talking about here?
Well, I think you got to keep Jordan Travis healthy because there's really, without him out there, you're not going to be able to keep up with Wake Forest. You just have no chance. He's going to have to score, as you guys said, 40, 50, maybe even 60 points because this is going to be, you're going to have to win in a shootout. There's no realistic expectation of Florida State's going to hold Wake Forest down. They're just not. Can they hold them to, if you hold them in the 30s, I think that's a victory for the defense. I also
really think the running game, which has been the strength of this offense, especially when Jordan Travis is available, is going to have to really come through because you're not going to expect, as you said, Wake's secondary is not very good. They've lost a lot of players. but it's hard to expect Jordan Travis is going to have a huge day passing on the road. We just haven't seen that yet. So you'd like to see them really just kind of get going with the running game. And I think Jayshon Corbin could be the key to this game. I think he's come on lately in recent games. I think his physical style against Wake's defense, he could give him some good opportunities and maybe play a little bit more ball control than Mike Norvell typically does.
Yeah, get the run game going and keep your defense off the field, and maybe you survive and in the season on a 2-game win streak. That would be something. Mild enthusiasm to conclude in that manner. Well, the ACC did something right for once. It's somewhat shocking. They've made a hire, Jim Phillips, coming over from the Big Ten, a guy that was at Northwestern. We'll talk about him next, what it means for Florida State, what it means for the ACC. Also have our weekly picks when the Warchant.com report returns.
Are you the ultimate FSU fan? We're your ultimate Seminole sports source. Subscribe to Warchant TV, where we bring to life the award-winning website, Warchant.com. Here you will find added opinion and analysis from the #1 team on the Florida State beat, a staff that brings over 50 years combined experience right to your phone or mobile device. Unmatched digital storytelling, original recruiting content, access to the top prospects in the nation, unflinching post-game wrap-ups, and the daily podcast Wake Up Warchant. All free of charge every day right here on YouTube. Subscribe to the channel and use the promo code WARCHANT30 for a risk-free 30-day trial of premium access to Warchant.com, home to the most active, passionate FSU community online, featuring exclusive insider access you won't find anywhere else. You're the ultimate Florida State fan? Connect to Warchant.com, your ultimate Seminole sports source.
Welcome back to the Warchant.com report. Another reminder, make sure you are subscribed to Warchant TV. Do so by clicking on the subscribe button. Simple enough, right? On the bottom right of the video, click on the bell to be notified of when videos and live shows are available. Also, another reminder as we wrap things here up on the Warchant.com report. Yet again, Saturday morning, 10 a.m., myself, Tom Lang, with the pregame show for Florida State Wake Forest. Following the game on Warchant TV, right here on YouTube, Gene and Tom will join forces again to take your calls, answer questions, analyze what we just saw. Hopefully another Florida State victory. I think it's a victory for the ACC this week. I want Ira to opine on this. I know you've reached out to your sources, and I think you probably found what I found, which is that people are really excited about the hiring of Jim Phillips. Comes over as the AD from his role as the AD at Northwestern. A lot of people thought he would be the next commissioner of the Big Ten. Politics may have played a role there. They went outside the conference, and instead that's the ACC's gain is what it looks like. Let's hear about Jim Phillips.
Yeah, I mean, it's I didn't know that much about him because I don't pay that close attention to what's happening in the Big Ten. The one thing I did know about the Northwestern athletic program is that facility that they built a few years ago, because when Florida State was trying to build their football-only facility, that was one of the first things everybody looked at as, well, if Northwestern can build that, and it's a palace. It's unbelievable, right on the water in Chicago. And so that's one of those, that's a sign of the things he did at Northwestern. It's why he was one of the, I believe, second highest paid athletic director in the country, despite being at a program like Northwestern, which is not necessarily known as an athletic powerhouse. So, but no, he's very highly respected. As you said, he was thought to be in line to be the next Big Ten commissioner. It's a big hire to me because I really felt like, and we've written a lot about this on the website, and we talked about it, and Gene's been complaining about it, beating his fist on the table for years, and I know you have as well, Jeff, that the ACC, the revenue gap for the ACC versus the other conferences, particularly the SEC and the Big Ten, has been getting wider and wider and wider. Now, recently, the SEC just inked their new TV deal with ESPN, taking away those afternoon games from CBS. And it's hard to envision how the ACC schools are going to keep up when they can't get anywhere near the same type of money from their television contracts. And this is a big hire because this is a guy who has done it in terms of media rights. He's very highly respected in that area. He's also very connected with Notre Dame. I'm not saying that Florida State or the ACC is going to be able to pull in Notre Dame as a full-time member. In fact, Notre Dame's people Jack Swarbrick, their AD, has basically said that's not in the cards right now. But their contract with NBC is up in a couple of years. And if anybody can help make that deal happen and get Notre Dame in the ACC, it is Jim Phillips. He's a Chicago guy. He worked at Notre Dame, very well connected there. And so for a lot of reasons, it's a big hire, but mostly because I just felt like, I'm not going to say the ACC was dead man walking, but it just felt like it was very perilous where they were going. And to bring in for that guy to take this job, I think it says that he believes that the ACC can get closer to equal footing. And we all know if that happens, that's very good news for Florida State.
On the thought being too, Gene, I'll get your thoughts real quick. This is a guy who a lot of people seem to think is going to walk through that door on the first day, tireless work ethic, as Ira alluded to, and the very first order of business is going to be to try to renegotiate the ACC's deal with the ESPN. And it won't be easy. They may have to dangle a carrot out there like another team joining the conference. It would be ideal if they could get Notre Dame, but it's going to be somebody. He knows that in order to compete with the Big Ten, where he's leaving, and in order to compete with the SEC, which is the footprint that a lot of the schools are in, you're going to have to do something about the money disparity. So that's good news that you got a guy who's ready to go to war on that front, and he's negotiated big-time deals, convinced people against their will initially. I mean, if you think about what an academic institution is, Northwestern is, a hard sell to build that massive facility that they did for athletics. But he had to sell that vision, right? And he got it done in academia, which is really, really important. So I know you're excited, though, too, because it's outside the triangle, buddy.
Yeah. Well, that was my first reaction. It's like, look, they got out of, they didn't go straight for a PC hire. They didn't go for the good old boy network. And that was my fear. They would get John Swofford part 2, and it'd be one of his buddies down there, one of his cousins or whatever would come in and roll right in, and they could sit there and sip their Merlot and smoke their cigars while they sit at Pinehurst all day long and count their money. But so, no, it's great that they went out and got a guy, to Ira's point, some guy with some business acumen. It's a tough situation because that GOR has you locked in until 2030 or whatever it is, but there are look-ins. There are some things you can do. Obviously, getting Notre Dame would be a huge boon, and that redoes the contract where I think you can really spin some things, but that's best case scenario. But you got a guy in now that will maximize whatever that is. It may be only $1 million or $2 million more. We don't know what it is, but this is a guy who's going to have the smarts, the savvy to work the system, to work the networks, to get the best deal for the ACC, which is something, frankly, they haven't had really in years since Swofford's been there.
That's a beautiful thing. All right, let's get to our picks. We've got some games this week. We do know Oregon and USC, as of right now when we tape this, are going to be playing. Last week, Gene, you were out of town. Me and Ira and Corey had fun with this and said, will it or will not be played? And we guessed right that West Virginia, Oklahoma would not be played. College football limping to the end here. Oregon, USC. USC favorite. I'm going to take Oregon. I'm not impressed with USC. They barely beat Arizona at the beginning of the year. Arizona's one of the worst teams in college football. They had to come back against UCLA. Give me Oregon in that game, getting 3.5 if it's played.
Yeah, honestly, I got to admit, I've not seen a Pac-12 game all season. So I've been doing those late shows with Tom that we never get to watch the games. But, I'm going to go with – I just don't like the hook on there, and I just won't go with Oregon in this one.
I'll take Oregon as well. Clean sweep for the Ducks.
My Sooners have rebounded nicely from choppy start to the season, and they've really gone on to basically lampoon everybody they've faced since then. They're getting an Iowa State team that has been game whenever they've had a chance to play. Iowa State's getting 5.5. I got to be honest with you guys. I'm going against my boomer here. I'm going to take Iowa State plus 5.5.
Wow.
I thought I'd get you on an easy one here, Jeff. I go, Jeff's going to be in Homer, so I can take him on this one. But no, you're right. Iowa State's playing really well. That game's there.
Yeah.
Oklahoma's been struggling up and down all season. Yeah, I like Iowa State in this one. Give it me.
The dream ends. Dream ends for the Cyclones. I'm going with Oklahoma.
There you go. Well, speaking of the dream ending, it ended a week early in Gainesville as the University of Florida blew it as a 24-point favorite at home.
Can I throw my shoe?
There it is. Toss it. It was beautiful to see, along with a 57-yard field goal in the fog. Inexplicably, an LSU team that quite rightfully could have given up 100 points the week before against Alabama somehow goes into Gainesville and gets a win. And Florida is downtrodden, but they have something to play for here. They have an SEC championship to play for now. Alabama's the best team in the country in my mind, best offense in the country, really best almost everything in the country. They're giving up 17 points here. Does Florida have it in them to rise up and make this a game? I'll say no. I'll take Bama to win and win big. Ira?
Yeah, it's that number is huge, but I really like Alabama, and I haven't liked Florida all that much, to be honest with you. I mean, they've got a couple of nice pieces. They've done a good job to win the games they've won, but yeah, I think Alabama's by far the class, and they've decided, it seems, to try to inflict their will on people, not just win games, but win them big. So I'll take the Tide.
Yeah, I think the other shoe's going to drop on Florida.
Hey,
Hey, there we go. I think every time we've had Alabama in one of these, I've picked them, and they've covered every single time. So I'm going to go with that all the way. I think Florida's going to be, after that heartbreaking loss, I think they're done.
Yeah, and Alabama, just for sporting guys and gals at home, really good in the first half. Really good in the first half, everybody. Just letting you know. So Clemson and Notre Dame, this is a rematch. This time around, Trevor is going to play, although I would argue he can't play any better than the backup played in the first game. That guy broke a record. It's most yards passing against Notre Dame in the history of the program. It was bizarre. Notre Dame won that game. I like Notre Dame's line of scrimmage. I can't believe they're getting 10.5 here. Give me the Fighting Irish. I think they, at the very least, make this an interesting game well into the fourth quarter.
yeah, it's interesting. I think Notre Dame might end up on the neutral field. They might be the better team. And what's amazing is Ian Book, and I'm one of the voters for the ACC Players of the Week. He never wins quarterback of the week, and he'll have 220, 230 yards passing, 100 yards rushing. There have been games this season where Notre Dame won the game, but the other quarterback wins quarterback of the week because they put up more passing numbers. I'm telling you, this guy just wins. He wins football games. They have a really good defense. As you said, the lines of scrimmage. Yeah, man, I'll definitely take the points in Notre Dame.
I hate to just be everybody doing the same thing. When I go, for sure I'm picking Clemson. They got Trevor back. They're going to be at full strength. They're going to want to get revenge. They desperately need to win the game, obviously, to get into the college football playoffs. But I saw that line, 10.5 points.
Yeah.
I cannot take over a double digit at two teams. I don't think Notre Dame's a great team, but they're a very good, complete team, as I pointed out, a very competent quarterback. It's going to be hard to blow them out because they're just a good, well-coached team. So I think I got to take Notre Dame with those points.
I will say one thing. Watch out for the officiating in this game, because here's the thing. The ACC desperately needs, especially with Miami losing, ACC desperately needs Clemson to win this football game. They cannot have Notre Dame win.
They don't have to cover, though.
No, I agree. I agree. But I think they're going to get some help, is all I'm saying.
Are you still having nightmares of the Dalvin Cook, the phantom clipping with Dalvin Cook against Clemson that would have kept them out of the playoffs?
Yeah. If that line judges or field judges in the game, definitely. I would just keep your eye out for the officiating in this game, because the conference really wants Clemson to win this game.
I love it. Ira issued the 2 fingers to my eyes, 2 fingers back to you, ACC. All right. I like it. I see you working there.
If it's close.
Yeah. Any borderline calls you think go the way of the okay, I got you. Well, once again, a reminder, 10 a.m. pregame show, Warchant TV on YouTube, myself and Tom Lang. And then after the game, Tom will join Gene for the postgame show and take your calls and questions and queries and all that good stuff. For Gene and Ira, I'm Jeff. Our thanks to
Score predictions. You just skipping it, huh, Jeff?
I keep skipping our Florida State game. I was trying to get us out of here. Come on.
Nope.
All right,
this could be our last one. This could be our last one of the year.
You're right. You caught me. All right, I'll take the Noles 58-54.
Woo! 100. What is the over/under? Do you have that, Jeff?
I didn't pull it up. I need to
take the over, whatever it is.
I was going to say it's not 100. I'm going to take I'll take the Noles. I'm not feeling good about it with this defense on the road. No, I'm not. I'm taking Wake Forest. I'm going to go with Wake Forest 38-27.
That's a good day at the office for the Florida State defense. 38 points.
Wow.
All right. Yeah.
All right. Send your hate mail to ira@warchant.com on that one. Now, I like the way FSU is playing. I think that they seem to be coming together as a team. I think they will win in a shootout, 43-41 Noles.
Wow.
Love it. There we go. Well, this time around, I guess I can say for Gene and Ira, I'm Jeff. And our thanks to Aslan and all of you for watching as usual. Take care. Be well.
Merry Christmas.
Happy holidays.
Happy holidays.
Happy Festivus.
Yeah, there you go. Kwanzaa, everything else. Yeah, absolutely.
Happy Chunica.
There you go. There you go.
Is our friend. Anyway, I don't know if you saw that video, but anyway.
Yeah, I did. And Festivus for the rest of us. There you go. We got it good. Go Noles. Talk to you next time.